getting what you want all the time maybe comes with a different side of things. And that's just what you're going to get when you're talking about that particular angle. Then the third part of the discussion today in the fast lane, speaking of which, is it's interesting. I'll be curious what Dave Glenn has to say when we chat with him a little later today in the fast lane. And we're working on some technical issues, so when we have our guests, you're not going to see me or them. We're just going to share audio versions with us here in the fast lane, and we will have it at Fastlane, Ed Lane, Facebook Live, and VTR in Sports. But Jim Phillips speaking with the media and larger takeaways. Here's my one big one, and we'll get into this later, but he spoke with the teleprompter at the beginning. There's some technological devices, Fastlane, Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram for the photos that enhance that. But my thought on this is just having heard him speak now for multiple football and basketball events and media days, he almost seems more comfortable when you take him out of that. I get there's sticking points that he wants to go on, but I'd almost rather have just a checklist kind of like this, which is our observations of what Jim Phillips said. I'd rather see that and just have some bullet points that he can reference. And then once that's done, he can go about his regular business of speaking to the media, and it would be more exciting. Speaking of that, more on that a little bit later. But when we return, Andrew Luck, Frank Reich, next in the Fast Lane.
The savings are huge at the big summer sales event going on now at Magic City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Bedford. Save up to $10,400 off MSRP on a new 2025 Ram 1500, or save up to $7,700 off MSRP on a new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Plus, we have over 230 incredible pre-owned vehicles in stock, marked with huge discounts. Don't miss our big summer sales event at Magic City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Bedford, 1750 Independence Boulevard, MagicCityBedford.com.
Have you looked at your home's exterior lately? Do you see faded siding, paint peeling, and wood rotting? Windows that are impossible to open and close, and gutters falling off? Call Collins Siding and Windows to transform your home's exterior and save you money on energy costs. Dreaming of a new porch or sunroom? Collins can do that too. Since 1989, Collins Siding and Windows has been transforming homes in Central Virginia. Roofs, windows, siding, gutters, porches, decks, and sunrooms. They can do it all. Call Collins Siding and Windows today, 434-525-6307.
Moving into senior living shouldn't be stressful. Thursday, June 12th, Runkin Pratt Liberty Ridge hosts Senior Living Simplified, a free resource and vendor luncheon. Enjoy lunch, meet experts in downsizing, in home care, real estate, and more, and hear guest speaker Robert Dawson explain the step-by-step path from home to community. Seats go fast. RSVP now at 434-610-0332 or email info@runkinpratt.com. Make the move with confidence. June 12th at Liberty Ridge.
I lost my 19-year-old son Johnny to suicide after he became psychotic from using marijuana, vapes, and dabs. He experienced cannabis-induced psychosis and thought the mob and the FBI were after him. Dabs are products with concentrated, high-potency THC, the chemical in marijuana that gives users the high feeling. One hit on a dab pen today is the same as smoking 50 old-fashioned joints back in the day. Use of THC before the age of 25 causes changes in brain development, a loss of IQ points, and lower motivation. Studies show THC increases the risk of anxiety, depression, and schizophrenia in developing brains. I lost my child, but it's not too late for yours. Educate your teen on the harms of marijuana.
A public service message from the nonprofit Johnny's Ambassadors. Learn the risks and get the facts at johnnysambassadors.org.
VTR in Sports is presented by Downtown Cairo. Authentic Mediterranean and Egyptian food. Downtown Cairo, Grace Mill Shopping Center in Forest, and Business 29 in Madison Heights.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
Over to the other side of the bay and over to a different side of the Fast Lane here on the VTR in Sports app. We are fond of leadership. We will get to those elements in a moment with the new GM of the Stanford Cardinals. Andrew Luck is with us here, continuing our coverage at the ACC Kickoff. Andrew, thank you for your time, first of all, joining us here in the Fast Lane. Why the opportunity for you to take this at Stanford? What appealed to you?
Yeah, I love the program. I'm obviously a product of the program. I love the university. My wife went to school there. She was a gymnast. I believe so much in the mission of the school writ large. I believe in the role athletics plays at the university. I believe in the role football plays at the university. I believe in the game of football. It's stinking important to this country. It matters. It's the game I love most. And look, there was an opportunity for me, and our president, put the opportunity in front of me to come in and run the football program and take an assertive, proactive step forward, and I'm not sure we certainly hadn't been firing on all cylinders in the recent past. And I know what we can be capable of. And so I look at this as a great opportunity to serve the university that I love, in an ecosystem that is constantly changing right now, a challenging ecosystem, right? And figure out ways for us to stay resonant with our values, with the academic integrity, with who we want to be, and go out and build a winning football culture and win games. And yes, there's been a lot of change, but something that, has stayed pretty consistent is we got training camp knocking on the door, and then we'll get back to football. And, that's the calm and respite of this whole thing.
For you mentioned the evolution of college athletics, changing landscape, those phrases that have become buzzwords / cliches for a reason. How did your experience at Stanford, and then after that, your journey in the NFL, prepare you to be able to handle what is an ever-changing landscape in college football?
I think the thing, sports, and not just football, but I mean, this is part of why I believe sports are the greatest, one of the greater human development sort of vehicles we have in our country. But man, you take your lumps. And if you can't figure out how to learn from your losses, whether they're throwing an interception, a fumble, or reading the defense wrong and coming back the next day, then you don't have much of a chance. And so I'm thankful for sports for really being a place where you get to be a constant learner, right? And then that's certainly what I've tried to take into this job. I'm not going to do things perfectly. I know that, but if we as a program and as people can have a great process of being honest about what's working, being honest about what's not working, and willing to be clear-eyed about hey, let's try this, let's try that. We understand what the consequences might be. We'll get somewhere. And so I'm, I think part of what's been so invigorating, obviously I have this emotional tie to the university in the football program, but learning. I mean, it is life affirming to be a learner. And I'm enjoying that aspect of this very much.
How do you, if vet is the wrong word, please feel free to interject, Andrew. How do you vet players in an era where there's a collection of them? I don't fault them where getting money now is the priority. Then there's a collection where getting money while getting an education is a focus. How do you look for option 2, maybe even option 3, as opposed to ones that are after the quick fix, which from the outside does not seem like the model you and Stanford want?
No, and look, I don't fault anybody for going out and hustling and getting some money. That's, it's our system. Let's go. It's the country we live in. Our academic threshold and rigor sort of is an amazing filtering system. We got to, there's not that many guys a year that qualify, and we got to go find them and make sure, we're putting a compelling, holistic offer in front of them. Scholarship, ability to come to the, what I believe people say one of the best. I think it's the best university in the world and part of the coolest athletic department in the world. Shoot, went to Paris to go watch my wife work at the Olympics. She was a producer, and there were 59 Stanford athletes. 13 current and a bunch former that are representing this country and others at the the highest echelon of their sport. But look, NIL matters. I don't think we need to act like it doesn't matter. It's part of our world, and we're certainly embracing it. Again, resonant with our values and academic integrity. And a college scholarship matters. I think outside of the GI Bill, is there a cooler human development vehicle? Again, I bring this up. Than a college athletic scholarship, right? And the ability for educational attainment and to self-actualize and find purpose. And look, I want every player in our locker room to have aspirations of reaching the NFL. They should, right? And love football. And I know I played with a bunch of guys who played in the NFL, right? And my last college teammate just retired a year ago. So long careers. And we know that life continues on after, and we want to make sure we're preparing our young men and look for those young men that want to have an impact, that want to go into the world knowing who they are, being the best aspirational version of themselves and have an impact in whatever way, shape, or form that resonates most with them and their personality and their character.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, because you played at Stanford, you played in the NFL, as we're chatting with Stanford Cardinal GM Andrew Luck, who's with us in the fast lane. for the majority of athletes, you don't retire, the game retires you, is the phrase that I've heard about it, which is at some point you just physically can't keep doing what you would love to do up in the head. You voluntarily made the decision to walk away. How much has that helped you with your story and how you've been able to relate to players currently at Stanford and ones that come in about having a plan for life after football and being equipped for whenever that time comes?
That's a really interesting question, and I think for me, for a certain degree, their game retired me, and I retired. Right, I made a decision, and owned that decision, and life has worked out in amazing and wonderful ways. I'm not sure how. Every relationship with a player is unique, right? The locker room certainly is sort of like one thing, but it's comprised of 100 plus individuals in there, and so. Certainly part of my role is connecting with all of them, connecting with recruits, connecting with folks in our ecosystem. And if I learned anything about by being a quarterback, by playing football for as long as I did, by having some measure of success, quarterback, and Coach Harbaugh used to talk about this a lot when I was playing, is that you got to be comfortable in your own personality. Your locker rooms understand authenticity deeply. They're very emotionally sharp in mass, and I took that to heart, right? It's authentically lead, be yourself, right? That resonates more than anything with people, I believe.
You, I would imagine, did not envision a coaching change when you first came to Stanford as their general manager, but it transpired as the offseason progressed from Troy Taylor to Frank Reich. How did that go in your mind when you saw that change was an inevitability? And then did you have the short list and Coach Reich's on it? Was he somebody that you leaned to because he's an interim opportunity? How did all of that transpire for you?
Yeah, no, it was certainly something I was not prepared for, but, things work out like they work out. And I'll say, Coach Reich was maybe the first call after my wife, after sort of the ball started rolling on a certain direction, or at least like one of the first couple of calls. But, when I realized we needed the next step plan, he out of my subconscious bubbled up as the guy. And I'm thankful he came. I mean, I called him and he's corroborated this. He did not know what was going. He knew I was the GM there, but he had no idea about what was going on. So I sort of just gave him the lay of the land and asked him where he was, and he was shopping in Costco for some strawberries in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I guess was convincing enough, and our relationship was strong enough. I'm under no illusion for, I think, why Coach Reich is out here, and for some amazing reasons, to help us this year and then help us take a step forward. But it was convincing enough to have him get on a plane and really put the recruit on like we would for a young football player. And man, I'm grateful he said yes, and he's been doing some incredible, wonderful things and getting this team prepared and building the culture.
How much of the vision is Andrew Luck, Stanford Cardinal GM, is with us in the Fast Lane on the VTR and Sports app, and ask that smart speaker, open VTR and Sports.